I'd like to welcome all of those who are here to learn about the Community Assistance Center program. The basic building block of society is the family. So what we're trying to do is do things that are centered around the family to build the family unit and strengthen it. And that's what the RSS program is all about. The work of humanitarian activities are found in the communities, and that's where we're going now with our community assistance centers. This slide is just basically in addition. Families build communities, neighborhoods, towns, cities, states, and nations. And again, the majority of the humanitarian work is done in the local communities. So the Community Assistance Centers program. In this slide, you have the Zim benefactor, picture representing the Zim benefactor. Below him is a state director. Now, this is if you had a fully functioning program. You don't usually start from the top and work down. You usually start with one person. But you would eventually have a state director, a county director, a city director, community directors, and then you'd have all of the assistants up on the top there. So that is the basic structure. So we're talking about community assistance centers. The Zim benefactor sets up the structure and controls the funds. The Zim benefactor's main CAC job is recruiting and expanding CAC centers to new areas. Your job is to train new directors who support the community's programs. Okay, the community director wears many hats, controls the outflow of funds under the guidance of the Zim benefactor, administers employee contracts for service-oriented businesses. He's the local or she's the local liaison for the RSS program, coordinates grants for local construction projects, coordinates government trust to support local needs, government needs, liaison for the National Real Estate Listing Service to support their needs, manages assistant directors and assigns projects for them, and is really the go-to guy in support of the community, the public face of the CAC program. We'll get into some of the stuff that he wants to do after, well, it's coming up here now. The assistant directors do the work. So you have the director who is responsible for the community, and he gets as many assistant directors as he needs to fulfill what is conceived to be his responsibilities to that community. So the assistant directors do the work. The director can have many assistants as needed. Assistant directors are the boots on the ground that get the work done. Examples of what they can do is they can find and build sports fields and rec centers. For the National Real Estate Listing, you can do condo conversions, and you might find somebody that's really good at that and let them loose and go find apartments to convert. Organizes contractor services for remodeling homes, a major part of the real estate listing service is when we remodel the homes and put them back out on the market for sale. So that requires contractors. And so an assistant can be involved in setting up and providing the service to the National Real Estate Listing Service and the brokers that will be responsible for the actual remodeling. So this person, this assistant director, is involved with finding the contractors for those services. Also supports a construction project for housing, etc. Again, this is, you get into the land development people who want to build houses, and there's a whole program that we can do for them, like funding all of their activities, buying the properties, and just having him do the work and getting paid as if he was, and he doesn't have to go ahead and invest all that money and so forth because he has a product that's already purchased through us. Liaison for the employee contract management. This is primarily, I would say his primary job is to find and help or put their service-oriented business under employment contracts. One particular one could be involved with that, or you could have 5 or 10 or whatever. Expanded responsibilities in rural areas with farmers and the new hemp crop. If there's a community assistance center set up in a rural area, then you could have specialized assistant directors, or the director himself could be specialized in helping farmers. And we're interested in doing new hemp crops and so forth. So there would be machinery and processing stuff that's required for processing hemp. So all of those kinds of things would be peculiar to a rural area, and those people who are involved, the assistant directors who are involved there, or the director, would have a specific responsibility for them. So it depends on if it's rural or suburban or urban, depending on where you are and what you're going to do. So a lot of people are interested in helping the farmers, a lot of the Zim benefactors, and this is a program that can help really implement what you're trying to do for the farmers.
Yeah, this is awesome. Can I ask some questions with this one, Ron?
I'd love to have questions. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite things to talk about or to really understand. So as far as like for the homeless projects, would homeless housing fall into the CAC program?
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And will you have detailed training for all of these different areas, such as the employment contract management and the farming situations? Will you have other trainings that kind of dive into the nitty gritty?
Well, the need will force us into doing the things that need to be done. There's no resistance to that. If there's a need for training specifically for a director in a community assistance centers, we'll do that. We have no problems with that. But keep in mind always, this is a brand new thing. Nobody's done this before, so we will look for help within the communities for things that need to be done, and then work out the training for that. And maybe the training is to look where to look for the people that you want to solve the problems in the community. We have to respond to the local community and what's going on there for us to know how to teach people what to do. And so once we get into it and we see how things are going, then we can, in the initial stages, it's just kind of training for, well, this is what we think you're going to need to do, and so forth. And then when we get into it and find out the nitty gritty, then we can do some actual training that would be general for different countries and everybody else, with solving specific problems in a specific community. So yes, to answer your question, we do anticipate, because this is all new, and gosh, we're not here to just dump you on something, and it's not our responsibility to do the nitty gritty work, but we want you to be successful as a humanitarian. So our Zim benefactors are going to get as much help as we possibly can to help. And
from the Alliance, right? From the Alliance as well.
Oh yeah, and that's a good key point. At this particular point in time, understand that the Alliance has a lot of trust and faith in humanitarians. We have not done this before. Nobody has. They're not just going to throw us out there with all these quadrillions or whatever of money and expect us to solve all of the problems overnight. They're there. We will have somebody assigned to us, a representative of the Alliance, not to do the work for us, but to assist and act as counselors. So if you have some problems, then I don't know how this is going to work. You're going to sit down with an angel and have just a discussion about what you need to do and come to some conclusions. They're not going to dictate to you because this is your job. You're the sovereign humanitarian, so it's your responsibility. But they're there to assist us, and we're not going to be left alone, for sure. This is too important for the establishment of the golden age of mankind, and this is what this is all about. So we're going to get all the help we need from the angelic realm. That's my understanding.
That's super exciting. And I do think that collaborating together and creating little systems so that you're not reinventing the wheel over and over and over for all of these different situations was helpful too.
Well, for sure. And we'll work out some kind of a way to do that, a website that can go to. You can interact with other people and see what they're doing, and they may have suggestions. And we got a problem over here. Has anybody had a problem similar, and how did you solve it? That kind of thing, that kind of communication is essential. So this is what the community is. They're the boots on the ground, and of course, men wear the boots and women wear are those boots?
They're booties.
They're booties. We want them to feel very comfortable in being directors as well. There's a potential problem with people saying, well, I can't set up because that person over there has set it up. And no, you can set it up in the same place. You finance or fund those people in your structure and CAC structure, and the others do theirs. But you can work conjointly or separately. There's no responsibility to, or it's a good thing to do, but you don't have to, because you're the sovereign humanitarian and you're the one that's responsible. So you'll do the things that are right, and we'll seek out the help that you need. So I think it's a good idea to help each other or to communicate with each other. Maybe even a weekly meeting where all your directors and assistants get together and talk about problems in that particular community. And you might have some kind of a recreation facility that you want to, and does everybody want to participate in the funds, the grants? Those are the kinds of questions that you can come up with. Most of our Zim benefactors will have more than sufficient money to do everything that they need to do by themselves, but we just, it's good to coordinate, but it's not required.
Yeah, many hands make light work.
Yes, for sure. And many ideas, minds that are focused on a problem can solve problems better. As long as you can set the egos aside and not be in competition with each other. There's no competition here. It's just helping the community. So there are no assigned areas for Zim benefactors to set up the CAC structure. Go wherever you want, any country that you want. I suggest starting in your local area first, solve all of the problems, and then move on. As you become more experienced with everything, it will be much easier to set up a new one in a new area. So coordinating with other Zim benefactors in the area is a good thing, but not necessary. A great source of finding directors would be retired persons who have great skills to offer. Giving money away can be fun, so it's not going to be hard to find those kinds of people. These retired persons may be found in religious congregations or social clubs. Many of these retired people, they don't want to work for the rest of their lives. They're retired, so they want to do something that they really enjoy doing. And offering them a 2-year mission in that area or community, or to go to Africa or someplace like that where you need specific skilled laborers or management of labor sort of thing, building especially in other locations in other areas. A retired person could be a very valuable asset when things are on the ground just starting to get put together. If you've been there and done that, you can teach others to do the same thing, and then it will replicate itself in the perhaps some other town situation where you're establishing a community. Retired persons are a great thing. And if I could just digress just a little bit, the RSS program was designed to go into a religious congregation, not designed specifically, but this is one of the applications. And you talk to the minister, and he sets up the RSS program for his congregation. Well, oftentimes in doing so, there'll be opportunities to talk to retired people. They'll come out of the woodwork and wanting to be active. And if they can commit themselves for a couple of years, then, and a bonus at the end of the 2 years, or if they want to stay on, they can stay on. There's all kinds of ways to deal with this. Finding them is the biggest problem. And that's why I see the religious congregations and social clubs like Elks Clubs and those veterans of foreign wars and things like that. There's some really good people that can, and of course their organizations would love to have the RSS program financing for a lot of the stuff that they're doing. Mm-hmm. Now, the employment contracts shares to compensate for their work is a really good thing, and it can be tailored. Each individual Zim benefactor is responsible to work out the details to make people happy and want them to be involved. There's no reason to ever shortchange people or say, well, he's not worth that much money. Just give it to them. Let them go out and they'll work to the point where they feel that they're worth what they're getting. That's just in the nature. So they don't want to be riding along and not doing anything and getting paid for doing nothing. They want to be worth their salt. So it's a built-in situation. Obviously, there's people who could go the different direction on it, but you're going to get some really good people because this is designed by the heavens for us to do. So they're going to send the right people, and those right people maybe have been being prepared 20, 30 years ago for this particular opportunity. We don't know. We just anticipate that the heavens, the Alliance, will bring forth the people to help us at the right time. And I'll say that's a promise. It's not just an idea. It's a promise. The right people will show up at the right time. They have been prepared.
Cool.
So we're going to find we're going to find these people. Go ahead.
So will the Zim benefactors create basically their own little company where they have employment contract shares to pay their directors and assistant directors and so on and so on?
The idea, yes, to answer that question, we'd like to not reinvent every contract. So there could be a rubber stamp contracts for a particular set of people, you might mechanics or whatever, or food restaurants or something like this, so that the contracts don't have to be rewritten for everybody. And it's just kind of fill in the blanks, because there's not a lot of differences between the contracts for people doing this work or that work. It's all pretty much the same. So we'll have contracts available and professionally done, and then they can just fill in the blank. They're on the computer. It'll be on the computer. Just fill in the blanks and go to the RSS platform and set it up in there. And I don't think it'll take very long to do.
So our directors will get paid through the employment contract shares as well as the RSS. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes, the RSS has its own program, but we use that platform for the employment contracts. And inside of the back office or the personal office, they will be separate entrance computer entries, and then they will all be boiled down, and this is how much you're getting on a per minute basis. And this comes from here, this comes from here, and it's all worked out. If you're an accounting type of person, you can go in there and you can find everything you want. That's the way it will be. Everything that is entered in there will be justified somewhere in the back office, in the program. But most people are not that way. They just want the bottom line. And if that's all they want, then they just look and see how much money they got in and push the button that says, I would like to draw some money down into my account. Okay, using the RSS platform from Employment Contract Shares, ECS, we're going to call it that in the back office. So you'll understand what that is, support of the CAC. Okay, let's talk about this is Employment Contract Shares were originally designed for the economic stabilization system, but were adapted to the CAC contracts. Not the actual contracts themselves, but the idea of contracting. The full ECS contains a 7-year contract. They get free health care for family members under 25. And I'm not sure that there's going to be any restrictions on that. Everybody's going to get free health care. That's my intentions. Quarterly raises of 1 cent per minute for a full contract term. So every quarter they get a 1 cent raise, which is $100 a week, or $400 a month every quarter. The contract benefits create a retirement benefits for life at the completion of the contract term. So if you're the end of your term, you're at a certain level of money coming in, and you want to retire, then you retire at that level, and that is your benefits. It's like as if you were still working. The only difference is that you won't get the raises every quarter unless you're actively working the job. But if you want to go past the 7 years, the cent per quarter will continue on until you retire. And then you retire at that level, whatever you want to do. We just want you to be productive. We want the people to be productive and do work that they really enjoy doing. And that's why the contracts. Penalties for breaking the contract terms. There has to be some teeth in the contract, or else people will they don't want to go to work, they won't go to work. Then they'll get fired, and then they'll say, well, it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, and so on and so forth. Well, you can't just sign a contract and get away from it without fulfilling the terms of the contract. So anytime there's a problem at the upper levels in larger corporations and so forth, they have the resources, human resource departments that administer the contracts. And if there's a problem with discipline or something like that, then you go through arbitration. And the arbitration can be, there's a penalties if you're wanting to quit or something like that, or you're quitting or somebody's firing you, then that's a problem with your contract. So you have to stay working with the contract. So that's at the upper levels. But if you have a small business and the kid you got out of high school wants to go off someplace else, there's no reason to keep him there. And so you just terminate his contract or his work, and he gets paid for an additional 30 days, and then his funds are cut off. We just want to be sure that things are done properly. The contracts administered by the large corporations who will contract with Level 1 Industries, those are major contracts with people like Ford or John Deere or Westinghouse or whatever that are creating things. And we want to be sure that we still have stuff to buy if we get all this money. So we want to keep building our society and our economy together so that it functions as a cohesive one in support of the families. And I go back to the families. It has to support the families and the family structure.
Okay, just one quick question on this one. So if they finish their 7-year contract, do they have to sign another contract, or does it just continue year after year?
It just continues until they want to stop. The 7 years is the contractual term, but if they want to continue to work, that's their option. And okay. And we've also got a provision in there for somebody that wants to do this, like a business owner. It's not just a 7-year contract. Anyway, he might be a young person want a 15-year contract or whatever, a 20-year contract. Anything more than 7 years, if we go up to 15, we'll double the benefits that we're paying to them. Double the benefits for the full term of the 15 years. So that's an incentive to keep people working and keep working longer. And of course, if you're older, you might not want to get a 15-year contract, but if you do, then you'll have those extra benefits.
Nice.
And can a Zim benefactor come up with their own ideas? You are the sovereign humanitarian. It's your money. Like I say, if you want to buy the house on the hill, buy the house on the hill. If you want a Bentley, then buy a Bentley. It's your money. So when you are in charge, you get to make the decisions on these things all the way down to the nitty-gritty, unless there's some reason policy-wise or something like that we join together and make. You don't want to violate that, but it's open for you to make the decisions of how you want to run your humanitarian projects and work. Love One Society will not be dictating to you unless it's by contract and the terms of a contract. The employment contract shares were originally designed for use in the economic stabilization system, but we adapted it. The CAC contract contains contract offered to service-oriented business owners offered full ECS, that's the one we just discussed, to stay in business. That we double their benefits for extended for 15-year terms if they would like to do that, instead of the 7-year. And again, that's the money that you put on the table for these people are the things that will help them to want to stay and continue to do work. The CAC directors adjust the per minute download to double owner's income. So, okay, I'm the Zim benefactor and I'm the hired director. The way this functions is I will delegate to him through the platform, through the RSS platform, with his own ID number with a code in it that the computer will recognize as coming in and being able to change certain things within his prerogative or the things that he's been delegated to do. So that means that you're delegating responsibility, and through the accounting system that should be established, everybody should want to be able to have reports and things of this nature to see how well people are doing. You might have somebody on fire over here and does maybe 10 or 15 contracts a week with certain businesses. You have another one over here that struggles to get 5. Well, what does that mean on a management level? That means that maybe that person needs a little bit more encouragement or training, or he go in and find out if he's got some problems or she has some problems, and you work with them. You don't fire people for not producing, because that's not who we are. We don't fire. We don't stop working with people and trying to help them. Money's not the issue. Helping people is. And if somebody is having some struggles, you help them with whatever they need. Get them back on their feet, a leg up on the horse. Anything that's necessary to help them is the important thing as a management tool to keep your people happy. So it may be that there's some problems that they can't handle and in the business and doing things, and find something else for them to do. You just don't fire people. That's my way of looking at it.
I like that, because not everybody loves doing everything. So it's finding what they might like better. That's a great idea.
I think it's vital. I mean, we're not in this for money. We're in this for the people. Seasoned employees can be offered a full ECS or at owner's discretion. Other employees are paid with the RSS download at owner's discretion. and each employee will be on the RSS platform with their own beneficiary program going as well. So it's not hard for them to just sign up and get an employment contract from the director according to what the boss wants to do. So directors have the flexibility to offer what is needed for owners, included interest, and it includes interest-free loans. You know, that's a loan has to be paid back. I don't know if that's so important. We want people to follow through with a commitment. If they commit to pay it back, then what are the teeth? What's the teeth in this? We don't want to hurt people. So we're not going to take your business if you don't pay back the loan or something like that. So again, there's a reason that people don't pay back. They don't have the money to do it. Mm-hmm. Well, if they don't have the money to do it, where's the problem? Let's give them some more money, help them get back on their feet, do whatever. They have a fire in their business. You don't be collecting money and loans and foreclose on their building. Bankers are the ones that don't have the heart. We have the humanitarian heart. We don't do that sort of stuff. So we work with people. So loans are the same way. Okay, directors should be given employment contract shares to the following examples and their employees. Just as a side note, employment contracts for national chains or associations should come under Level 1 Industries. And that is under the economic stabilization system. That's for the larger, maybe 20 or 30 employees or larger. Smaller ones is service-oriented business. Examples are mechanics shops, local. Well, you can read that. And your mind will, as you read through that, your mind will just say, I know some people that could, there's a lot of people in the town that are serving the community, and without them, those things won't happen. So we want to offer employment contracts to all of those kinds of people. I would be very careful about making the local restaurant or the local sporting goods store or whatever a priority rather than national chains. I think the national chains should be avoided, because if we have problems in society, you know, you've got the Coca-Cola and you've got the other kinds of companies that are going to try and do, those are cabal-oriented businesses or sponsored business or run businesses, the national. And if you have a way, you know, talk to your angel and find out if those are the kinds of, before you get into some of those other larger corporations, be sure that you're doing things accordingly, and they have inside information, and they can help you with making decisions on people who you want or corporations that you want to work with. It's a resource. Mm-hmm. Okay, government agencies, I call them GAPs, government assistance programs. The GAP is a trust that you can set up for, let's say, and I use here a fire station. Fire station has a captain, and not the brigade captain or whatever, just he's in charge of that fire station. They have things like the food, and they maybe exercise equipment or other firefighting equipment that they need, and it's not in their budget. You give them this trust, and it gives them some cash flow that they have to budget and can do things. If they want to buy a fire truck, then we give them a grant. But we're talking about these trusts that can happen for government people. Oftentimes they have programs that they have to cut because they didn't get funded. Well, if it's a good program, then let's set up a trust for it. The director can do that. And they're closing down this Boys and Girls location because maybe the building had a leak in it and it got condemned. Well, let's go in and let's get that fixed. We've got the money to do that, and then the community director is the one who makes those kinds of decisions. And all of the people in the community, they look out and they know where the money can be. So if there's a problem, then let's hear about it and let's go solve the problem. If money can solve a problem, let's solve it. And oftentimes money is the only thing that can solve some of those problems, unless they just sit there and fester. So we're here to help the community. Another one would be entrepreneurs and the arts, theaters and arts, playhouses, dance studios, clubs, entertainment venues, local bands, local choral groups. They all, if it's a choral group, they might need to all have the same uniforms or something like this. Let's be sure that they have the funds to do things in a local area on entertainment for entertainment things, because the entertainment industry is going to flourish because people will have a lot of money. And they will have extra time that they can do that because they don't have to work 2 or 3 jobs. And it may be that we'll start working out with a 4-week work week. And we don't care. Let them be sure that they servicing the community if you contract to do that. But all of these other things, daycare centers, local inventors and entrepreneurs, all of those people could use some money. Let's be sure that there's no inventor that goes by that can't get his inventions. If it has, if it makes reason, if it makes sense, then you can put some money towards it. That's what we're doing, is to patents and all that sort of stuff. We're financing those and making a prototype and then working out the manufacturing and the distribution. So where are those things found if not in the local communities? I don't know. Somebody's going to give us, here's 6,000 list of 6,000 patents, and we need you all to get it together and pick one out and do it. I don't think it's going to be organized like that, and I don't think that that's the only source of patentable inventions. We might have some off-world stuff that's coming, and new inventions. Are we going to do anti-gravity machines, or who's going to make those? What manufacturing facility is going to do that? Those are the questions that we have yet to answer, and maybe the answer is in the technology, maybe it's not. But I think that if money is required, then we help with all of those kinds of things, and we find them in the local communities as well. So the directors have to be having their antennas out for this kind of activity to happen or defined, so that we can service the community in a more thorough way.
So is there any small business? Oh, absolutely. But is there any small business that doesn't qualify?
I'm not going to say yes or no. It just simply needs to make sense. If somebody's starting a business, let's let them have the money to give it a good shot. If that's what they want to do in their life, and that's their contribution to society, then why would you not do that?
Okay.
If it takes money, let's just be really real about this. If you have the $100 trillion note, get the 500. We know that there's 1.25 quintillion every quarter that's coming to you to use for your communities and for your activities. Let's understand that 1.25 quintillion is 18 zeros. That's one hell of a lot of money. And that's going out into the community on a quarterly basis. And how many humanitarians are there? There's no reason to skimp on anything. We've got the money. We're asking for the big bucks. We're given the big bucks to do the things that need to be done as humanitarians. So we don't worry about the money. We worry about the people.
Yeah, wouldn't that be just so wonderful?
Yeah, that's the way it's being set up with the Alliance support. Okay, humanitarians coming from their hearts will do the yeoman's work of lift mankind out of poverty. That is obviously what our job is. We do it in a way that's humanitarian, without chaos, with dignity, with love, and we get the job done. Using the Loved One Society's structured programs will ensure one's success as a humanitarian. And I believe that that's our job as Loved One Society, is to provide those structures and help to implement them and help them, humanitarians, use them in the most effective way. Thank you for your interest, and thank you for coming from your heart and looking for a way to use your heart and get the funds that you need to do the things you want to do from your heart. And if we can help you, we're really happy to do that. We love and appreciate you for the potential you have to do the humanitarian work necessary to help us all create the golden age of mankind. That is what we're doing. Sending
Awesome.
forth blessings and love to all of you.